Well, hey there guys, Conceptual Concepts 6.9 here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and I'm here to talk to you guys about why, for defensive purposes, it might be better to have one pistol and one rifle and not get caught in the weeds of consumerism. The gun market is big on consumerism. It is a retail business, and so the drive of these different companies is to sell you the newest, hottest thing. But there is merit to just having one rifle and one pistol. But we're gonna talk about that today because it's easy to get caught in the sauce, if you will, and be driven to consume. And so, why might you not want to? Because the average citizen doesn't need more than one rifle, one pistol. And the newest, flashiest item isn't going to save you from getting killed in the streets if you don't have practice and time behind it. And that's where I think the message should lay. You should practice with your carry gun and with your primary rifle primarily, because those are what you're going to be using. People seem to think you need a different rifle and a different pistol for every mission set, but guess what? As a defensive firearms owner, typically you're not going to set the stage for your defensive scenario. So you don't get to, oh, there's gonna be an active shooter today. I need this super Gucci pistol that I can like blast A-zones with all day from 50 yards. You got the gun you decided to carry that day. Or, let's say rifle, and a day scenario, you don't get to pick when the aggressors decide to come after you. So, you're stuck with what you have on you. People seem to think you need a rifle, a shotgun, a bolt action rifle, you need a SBR, an NV gun. Well, guess what? You can't carry all those all the time. You're gonna have the gun you have on you. So one gun that you're used to, that you practice with, that you know very, very well, is better than 50 guns that you've shot a few rounds through each, and you don't know the optic well, the triggers might be different, the stock lengths, everything might be different on them. You're not gonna have that proficiency you get with shooting one gun. And that's done through dry fire and putting rounds down range. So you can invest a lot more money in ammunition if you go with one rifle and one pistol, one EDC gun, versus anything else. And I don't want this to be the just as gooders, the Palmetto guys who are like, oh yeah, that's why I bought a Palmetto, I have all this extra money for ammo. I'll tell you, I've never met a guy who has a Palmetto rifle who's put more than 500 rounds through it, except on the internet where everyone says they've got 3 million rounds through their rifle, not a single jam, never had to clean it. I don't believe you. I'm sorry, I just don't. But you can get a quality AR-15 or AK for ballpark $1,000, maybe $1,500, depending on how high you want to go. Get a quality optic, a quality light, quality suppressor, if that's the route you want to go, bunch of magazines, ammo, your quality pistol, and it's going to cost you a lot less than the guy with 30 Palmetto guns. Half of them don't have optics, and he's never shot any of them, except maybe a mag to test function. So get quality, because these are going to be items you depend your life on. And yeah, Palmettos might work for a few hundred rounds. They might even work for 5,000 rounds. But the QC on Palmetto products is not great. And these lower price products is not great. You want something that will hold up. And unfortunately, you got to pay for that. And another thing I want to note, which I'm a collector, I'm guilty of this, but another thing to note of buying a bunch of rifles and pistols is that that is capital, that is money you could invest in other things for preparedness. You could invest in extra medical, you could invest in solar panels, a generator, you could invest in food, water supply, water filtration, extra stuff that chances are you're going to need more than that niche rifle that is perfect for this one specific scenario you have built up in your head. Now, let's get into the rifles and pistols. In the US, the practical two are a Glock and an AR-15. Now, I don't think the commonality is as important as many people seem to think, because everyone seems to think they're going to be battlefield picking up everything in end of days. You are your own logistics. You can't guarantee you're going to get replacement parts for different rifles. Have them on hand. You can't guarantee you'll be able to pick up magazines for your stuff. You really should just have it on hand. Your ammo you should have on hand. You are your own logistic supply in end of days. The chance of being able to battlefield pickup might be partially a reality, but it definitely might not be as well. So if you're being prepared, prepare by having all the stuff on hand first. So the relevancy of having those two common platforms, I think, is kind of overblown. So personally, if I were to only have two right now, I would have my Beretta PX4, because I shoot it well. It's really easy to maintain. It was made for armors to be able to upgrade and all that stuff. It's reliable, it shoots accurately, and I love it. It's my EDC, and as a handgun, it should be your EDC gun. And most people can carry a Glock 19 size pistol all day. If you can't, I would still suggest you go with something you can carry all day, because your EDC gun is your primary. It is 99.999% chance what you're going to use in a defensive scenario, so it should be something you can carry. Now, you should pick something reliable, and luckily we live in the golden age of 9mm. 9mm handguns are more reliable, more accurate, and better than ever before, and so I personally would pick that. Ammo is cheaper. The guns, you have more options. They're very reliable. They're very squared away. The one thing I would recommend with that, though, is pick solid brands. It's real easy to look at Taurus and be like, man, that's a hell of a price. But for an extra 50, 100 bucks, you can get into a CZP-10C. It passed NATO standards. It's going to treat you very well. You can get an LEO Glock for about the same price, and you're good to go there. So I'm just going to tell you, if you have the money, if you can afford it, jump on something duty grade. Glock, CZ, Smith & Wesson, Beretta, you know, all the main brands will make quality products that you can trust your life to and will hold up to neglect, abuse, all that good stuff. Much better than these cheaper firearms. So now let's get into rifles. In the US, I think the AR is really hard to beat. Just logistically, it's everywhere, you know? But as I said previously, you are your own logistic supply. And personally, I'm really having a hard time moving away from AKs. And it's because it's the rifle I'm familiar with. I know that rifle inside and out. And so it's hard to move away from that. I also like 7.62 by 39 because the brush here, 5.56, does have more trouble in brush than 7.62 by 39. But those are my reasons. I'm not completely convinced I won't grab one of my ARs though, just because, just the off chance I can do battlefield pickup, or I get with my group of friends, they're all running ARs. The ability to share ammo and magazines is pretty significant on the list of benefits, right? So I might go with the AR. And with this rifle, people talk a lot about different weapons, different capabilities. Well, you're only going to be carrying one. It's very unlikely you're going to have a shotgun, a night vision gun, a general purpose rifle, an SPR, a battle rifle, and a sniper rifle on you all the time. So one rifle that can suit most needs, and I generally think that's a general purpose rifle. You want to stretch from 0 to 500 yards reliably, and you can do that with either an ACOG, an LPVO, an MPVO with a top dot, which I really like as well. You can do that with those setups, and I think that's going to fill the most niches, especially with a 14.5 or under barrel. And so I'd recommend going with something like that. And there's benefit to familiarity. So when you're training with one rifle, you get to know that gun pretty intimately. You get to know how it acts, if it's getting sluggish, if any issues are coming along. You know how to rest the rifle on different barricades. You know where to grip it. Everything becomes to a certain level instinctual, where if you're switching rifles consistently and they're not all set up the same, you're not going to have that level of familiarity where you would have with one rifle and one pistol. One downside of doing the YouTube thing is I've moved away from, used to be my Arsenal SLR 107CR was all I shot, and it got to the point where I was incredibly familiar. I was very comfortable with that rifle, and I knew the mechanical offsets, I knew what it did at distance, I knew everything that went into it. And unfortunately, because I'm switching rifles constantly, I don't get that level of familiarity anymore, and honestly, I miss it. So there's benefit to only having one rifle, and one rifle in these situations is probably going to serve you fine. Most infantry don't have a sidearm as well, and so if you have to run a smaller pistol for concealed carry, might be worth just doing the smaller pistol for concealed carry and planning the rifle to be your primary rifle. You know, like not carrying a pistol with you on shit hit the fan stuff, or just concealed carrying it, right? But this is why I think 90% of gun owners should really focus on one pistol, one rifle. Now, it's always cool to go out, learn new skills. Like I've just picked up a precision rifle. I'm gonna start shooting precision rifle. And I think that's a valuable skill to have. But for most people, I don't think it makes sense to invest in a bunch of stuff. It's better to invest in ammo, training, time behind your rifle, good equipment, a rifle with a good quality rifle, with a good quality optic, good quality light, maybe a suppressor, maybe thermal. You could probably buy thermal for the price of 4 or 5 shit sticks. And you can run that and have a really solid setup, versus having 50 different guns. Half of them aren't zeroed, a third of them don't have optics, and so I think you're losing out there. But anyways, that's why I think one rifle, one pistol is good for 90% of people, because consumerism isn't always the best option.